Hey everybody, I apologize for the issues getting started. Welcome to another live stream episode of Talking Timepieces, where we talk about watch collecting and horology. Today I am on the road, as you can tell, and that's one of the reasons I'm having technical problems. I'm not the most technically competent when it comes to this kind of thing anyway. I'm a hardware embedded guy. Um, and speaking of which, hey, Wonder Tan guy, I hope it wasn't too much of an awkward switch over. For some reason the hotel internet hiccuped and I lost the feed, but let's hope that it doesn't hiccup again. I literally have my cell phone with the flashlight on, uh, sitting on top of the screen to give me some light, because this is not the best venue for a live stream, but the show must go on. And I figure it's primarily a conversation between us. So as long as we're talking, it doesn't matter where I am. I am currently at the Hanover Messe for the big trade fair. A couple of weeks ago, I was at the Power Control and Intelligent Motion Conference, and in a few weeks, I'll be at the Embedded World Conference in Nuremberg. But now that people are starting to recognize that COVID's endemic, everyone just the convention scene is rolling back out in full force. Um, even got a little cup, Hanover. Time to transform. And then if you like a good person, you drink all your drinkies, you get to look at the bottom and it says Hanover Messe. So I'm hoping to obviously get more than just I just realized I can't see what's going on with the show. And I lost Wonder Tan guy, it looks like, but that's okay. Uh, but one of the things about being on the road is traveling. And I thought I would talk about traveling. I travel with my pieces, uh, for hockey classes. Well, I travel with watches, like I say, or why? And I thought I lost you because I don't see in the count. But good thing you're there. Always nice to have people, and just wanted to. For some reason, I'm having trouble with the zipper. But then again, these zippers are doing right turns, so I can easily imagine that they could be having, you know what it is? I think this one's missing some teeth, which means I guess I'll be using the zipper from the other side and rolling around in the future because, oh yeah, that's an ugly, ugly, ugly. I think I'm gonna have to retire this bag, in fact, because that's an ugly gap in the zipper. But then again, that's one of the issues about having a case is cases get used and over time they get worn and then they eventually are non-functional, or in the case of a case, in this case, haha, it I'm gonna have to damage the zipper because I can't get this stupid thing. It's the teeth are actually damaged. Yeah, there's a huge chunk of teeth missing from the zipper. I wonder, it must have snagged on something that can't be from use. Ah, there we go. But I managed to get it past the point and open it up. And so you see, I carry a healthy number of pieces with me when I travel. And that's for two reasons. Number one is when you travel, it's always nice to have an assortment of pieces if you're a watch person to choose from that allow you to yeah, match what you're wearing or match the mood, match the time. um, Wristwatch check, I'm wearing right now, I'm wearing my Mito. I really like it. I really do like it. This Mito Ocean Star chrono is really, I like it more than I had expected to. I'm going to do a show on it. And once I do the show, I'll let you know exactly what I think about this Mito. But I've always talked Mito up as an underappreciated brand, and I always felt I was a little hypocritical I always felt that I was a little hypocritical, not owning a Mito or at least not trying one out. And so when I saw that the Mito Ocean Star, the new Chrono, is ceramic blue. I love a blue piece, and it's a nice, rich, deep blue. There's some purple, in it. It's a very rich blue, and I really, really like it more than I thought I would. And I mean, it might even stay in the permanent collection as my new beater. But then again, I think my Universal Genève would get all jealous if I did that. But I definitely am leaning more towards keeping than moving on in the collection. I'll figure out something else to move on the next time I need to sell something. Um, but then again, that's what watch collecting is about, right? Choosing what you're going to keep, choosing what you want to buy, choosing what you're going to wear. Like here I am at this event, and today I was at the press tour. Hey, Shy Robert, Mito and Certina are in the awkward price range. Well, they just get to the point where they're true luxury watches in the sense they do cost. I mean, even a person who has money would say, well, once you're over 1,000 euros, you're talking about real money for a watch. And this is a 2,000 euro retail. I got it a little less than that because I bought it on Chrono 24 from a deal, but they were actually a legitimate dealer. Just a lot of dealers do sell online, and then they'll give you, another 5 or 10 points off on the price. So I paid about 18 for this online, and I'm very pleased, like I was saying. And yes, we're at a point where it's an awkward price point, but at least it's an achievable price point. You could save up for a bit and get that kind of money to turn into a nice watch like this. And this really is a nice watch. It evokes the the Omega Seamaster. It evokes the new ceramic blue Omega Seamaster. Um, Evokes it. It's not an homage, and I mean, they're very if you put them side by side, you can see they're different, but they are bicompax blue diving watches, so there's going to be some similarity. So it does evoke that, but it doesn't have the helium escape valve, which is something I've always pointed out. Shows Omega, it's a design cue as much as it is a functionality thing, and the Omega admittedly has beautiful ceramic pushers, but the Mito makes up for it with screw down pushers. So the Mito has nice screw down pushers, and it's a really nice piece. It's got anti-reflective on both sides. Sharp, sharp, sharp. Hey, Wonder Tan guy, you usually travel with three watches plus the one on the wrist, a G-Shock, a chrono, a dressier piece, and a diver. Yeah, actually, I would say, yeah, if 3 plus 1 is 4, and 4 watches, well, 4 watches is a good collection, right? You could then roll with your collection all the time, which is another reason to travel um, with your watches, because if they're all with me, no one's going to break into my apartment to steal them because they know they're with me, right? And so, good luck catching me on the street because I'll run real fast. But when you travel, if you're traveling with your watches, most hotels have lockers, and there have been times when I've been in a place that didn't have a safe in the room, and I didn't trust the desk staff. I I always get a hotel room if I'm at for a show. I get a hotel room near the train station. I've locked stuff into the train station lockers overnight. Put my backpack into the locker when I didn't trust where I was, if it gets that extreme. But you can always secure your stuff when you're traveling. I have a good safe at home, but why tempt the devil? If people know that my best pieces are with me, then I know they're not going to smash in my window to try to get them at home. Um, Not that I publicize that I have watches or where I live or any of that other, but the people that know I collect are also the people that know I travel with my pieces. So anybody who would be doing any kind of inside information for nefarious purposes would also know that, yeah, there's nothing there to get. So traveling with your pieces gives you two advantages. One, you can keep an eye on them, and two, you get to select from them while you're traveling. Tomorrow, I'm going to wear my Jejelet coat with my. I've got an Eigner herringbone, black and white herringbone suit I'm going to wear with a nice blue shirt, and I'm going to wear that JLC with it. Let's let you this piece. I'm going to wear my. There we go. Isn't that a beautiful piece? See, and on day two, I'm going to wear my new. I know some of you are going to be aghast, and some of you are going to be shocked, and some of you are going to go tisk tisk, which is actually, came from the way you wrote, and a lot of actors just started reading it as tisk tisk. Um, but I recently went ahead and I succumbed to, I don't know, the siren's call, and I traded my Explorer 2 and a little bit of cash for a date just, which we're on day two with my French cuff shirt, be all poofy. But but then again, the JLC is a beautiful piece, and that's the nice thing about if you have a good collection, any one piece shouldn't totally outweigh all of the others. Depending on the situation, then the people say how the date justic you can wear everywhere. Yeah, you can kind of wear it everywhere, but then again, if you can wear a watch that is more appropriate, then you'll wind up being happier in the situation, right? You know. Hey, Ors, good evening. When traveling, I like to roll with a G-Shock for hikes or outdoor sports activities, and then I want some sort of super versatile watch with the from the boardroom to the beach vibe, like an Aquaterra, and then bring a leather and a rubber band. Well, the Aquaterra is a great piece to knock around with. It really, really is. And the closest piece I have to the Aquaterra is my Globemaster, and that watch I do wear a lot, and it's one of my favorite pieces, if not my favorite piece. I kind of split it between that and the JLC. But the Globemaster is also a great knocking around piece that you see. I have it on a casual leather strap. Currently, my Omega Alligator is on my Speedmaster because I like the contrast of the black and black. I have the metal strap for this, but I really do like the way the black works with it. So I keep it on the black, and since I have it on the black, I keep this on a more casual blue, which I think brings out the heat blued hands on the face anyway. I'm thinking of getting. Oh, I pushed my tripod off the desk. Actually, I'm actually angry at myself. I brought my tripod and I forgot to switch the head from the tripod, so it's useless. So I had to go to the local store and buy another tripod, and it turned out to be really short because I bought the smallest one they had. But the stalk with the screw head, I was able to switch, so I have the tall legs from the one and the head that I can actually screw to my camera with the other because. I brought the big bag on, just as I do. I shoot a lot of video at these trade shows. And if you're into it, you'll see that on machine design. The last show I was at was the Power Control and Intelligent Motion show for Electronic Design magazine. But I'm here at Hanover Fair for machine design because they're more about larger finished systems. So a lot more robotics, a lot more three-dimensional printing systems, a lot more industrial automation. The big thing is cobots. You're going to see robots everywhere, even in places with people, and that's what they're calling them cobots because they can safely be operated. I'm not going to. I shouldn't say in quotes. I mean, if they're operated properly, they'll be all right. But these are robots that are going to be designed. These are robots designed to work right in space as humans are, which is why they're calling them cobots. But that's very big right now as a growth area. And the other thing is things to enhance the human abilities. either warehouse equipment or even stuff that straps directly to the worker. Like I saw a presentation today on a spring-loaded exoskeleton system that's supposed to reduce the stress of bending over and picking stuff up, or if you're working overhead, lifting things constantly, up to 40%. So there's a lot going on in the industrial space, and it'll be fun to cover it. But you bring the I bring the watches because well, I'm a watch person, and like I said, it's nice to have them with me because I have the choice, and it's also safer in my mind to have them with me because I can keep my eye on them. And Oars, I do like the Aquaterra. If I didn't have my Globemaster, I would totally own one. Shy Robert, how's it going? I think it's best to wear an homage or a G-Shock and only wear the real thing at home. Many robberies in Los Angeles now. Well, then I hope you have a good safe at home. When I was talking about the things to do with watches at the last live stream, I mentioned how you should definitely have, if not a safe, a good lock on your case. But then again, if the case isn't secured to something, someone could take the case. So your best bet is to insure it because you can't stop the theft. But if you're properly insured, you can get a replacement for the watch, unless it's a priceless watch. And then, well, we wouldn't be having this conversation because not, I'd be the guy doing the reviews of the Rolexes, the platinum Rolexes and the like, and you'd be watching that show instead of this show. And we're both, talking about pedestrian pieces in the eyes of the higher end watch collectors. But I like where I am in the watch space as a collector. And frankly, the biggest obstacle to me getting the oyster, the date just, not a day date. I wish I had a day date. But the biggest obstacle to me getting the date just is the price has just gotten so inflated that it's a comically expensive piece. But I don't believe that the prices are going down very much or will go down for very long. I think that they're going down for some of the more overpriced pieces, and you know, there for some of the more flashier pieces that are in our trend right now, like a Tiffany dial, Oyster Perpetual, for example. But the Explorer 2 didn't jump up in value tremendously. The Air King didn't jump up in value tremendously. The Milgauss jumped up in value a lot in the aftermarket in the gray, and that might come down a bit. But if you think about it, most of the quote unquote mainstream Rolexes didn't blowed up that much in price. It's was mostly a few pieces, some the subs, the Daytonas, but and some of the Oyster Perpetuals, but a lot of the date just while it had it's still overpriced. It's not as comically overpriced as some of the other Rolexes out there. And frankly, it was opportunity. My local shop, someone I did a lot of business with, had it available, and fluted bezel oyster bracelet rhodium dial is a rare combination. So I figured it was worth taking the hit to get such a classic piece, and in the long run it'll work out for me because I'm not looking to flip it. So let's see. Or as you brought my attention to the Globemaster, super cool watch. Love your Polaris as well. Yeah, and those are two watches that are in the permanent collection. I'll never get rid of those two pieces unless I was in serious financial hardship, because you know if I had to go to like a three or a four-piece collection, I would definitely do the Globemaster, the Polaris. Now that I have the date just, and probably the Navitimer, because you need a good sports watch, and it doesn't have to be a diver; it could be a pilot's watch too. Don't. Although I really like for the even at the 2K, even at well, it's like 22 and change at retail, but even if you can get it for 2,000, this is totally worth the money I paid for it. And I would have paid retail for it, frankly. Now that I know it, well, I mean, luckily a watch like a Mito, you can at least get 5 to 10% off from the dealer by paying cash. not to avoid tax, but they'll take, they'll give you, in Germany, they call it sconto, 5%. They'll at least, they'll usually give you at least five. And in any good retail store with a product like Mito, which is not a mainstream, people don't knock down the doors for the latest Mito. You can get 10% off, and for 22 list, it means you can pick it up for two. So it's definitely a watch worth owning, and I'm going to do a review on it. But yeah, traveling with a couple of nice pieces. So, for example, Shy, when you're saying the G-Shock, well, when you think about it, right, this Mito would be a great travel watch for you because you don't need it's not an homage, it's not cheap, but it's also not a watch that someone's going to beat you to death for. They're not going to cut your hand off to get the Mito. They don't even probably know what the Mito's worth. They'll see that it's a sharp looking piece, but from a distance, a sharp looking piece can just be shiny. So yeah, I would say if you're really worried about traveling with expensive pieces, wear some of your B team. I mean, I guess I shouldn't call the Mito a B team, but it's definitely not one of the most expensive pieces in my collection. Or wear something like I just picked up the new PRX, Tissot PRX for the show, um, and for what is it, 690? I got it for less than that. Um, that's a watch that you can wear, looks sharp, and you don't have to worry about somebody beating you over the head with it, for it. So if you're worried about traveling with expensive watches, travel with nice micro brands or mainstream watch company pieces that the average person would appreciate as nice, but a thief wouldn't see as valuable or worth going out of your way to steal. Let's see. Good luck finding anything in my room, Shy Robert says. Well, that's the other thing is that you can always hide stuff. Sometimes when I'm really in a bind and I don't know what to do with the piece, with the watch box, I'll hide it somewhere. On top of tall furniture is good because a lot of maids aren't very tall. Um, Actually, a lot of people aren't that tall, and if you put it at the top and the back on top of some furniture, the odds are can't won't well they won't see it, and odds are they're not going to reach up there to see if you put something on top of the furniture. But then again, hiding something is always a gamble. Your best bet's to lock it up, and of course, insure it. Hey, Queef Connoisseur, how's it going, my friend? Always nice to see you on the show. We were talking about traveling, and I was talking about traveling with the watches and how well, in my case, I like to keep my eye on them, and it gives me a chance to swap around and pick exactly the piece that I want to have. But let me know how you travel with watches, or if you travel with watches at all. I mean, being able to choose watches is always cool. And frankly, when I'm at a show and I bump into people I know, we'll chat about watches and I'll haul the case out and we'll, ooh and ah over, the pieces if they admire them, or if there's someone who has a bigger collection than mine, they'll go, oh, that's not a bad choice, and they'll look at the pieces. But I will haul my collection, not my collection. It all depends on how many I take with me. I have a two case, I have a one case, a two case, a four case, and an eight case, and a 10 case. I have the eight case with me on this trip because I'm here for a week. So I knew I'd need a lot of variety when I was at PCIM for only 3 4 days 4 days. I took a four box plus the one on my wrist. I did take the dirty pocket watch to that show because I knew a lot of people, and that's not a kind of watch you use to break the ice. You need to show it to someone who you know. You don't want to show a dirty watch to someone and they may take it the wrong way. But yeah, watches are always a good conversation piece because, as I've always pointed out, uh, no sex, well, unless you're talking about a dirty piece, but no politics, no religion. You can talk about a watch with a Muslim, with a Christian, an atheist. Talk about a watch with anybody. Aliens. Everybody appreciates time, and even if they don't appreciate time the way you do, they can at least admire the way that someone has put together a piece that allows you to show time in such a nice manner. Hey, Carter. Guten Abend from the Netherlands. Live long and prosper. Oh, we're only about halfway into the show, so we're in good shape time wise. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to bring them up. Um, I realized I forgot to put my hat back on, but I don't look too bad on the screen. Um, like I was saying, I'm here at the Hanover Fair, and one of the nice things I'll do is watch because of course, at a lot of these trade shows, people dress to the nines. They dress as best as they can, especially salespeople because they want to look successful. So you see some really nice watches at a trade show. In fact, I usually shoot some and post them on my Instagram page. But if I see any really sharp pieces on the floor at the show this trip, I'll make sure to post them on the YouTube channel as well, so you can see them. Because yeah, sometimes you really see some nice pieces, and sometimes you see pieces that you didn't know existed. Like now, well, I shouldn't say now. Obviously, now I know, but about I don't know, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I was interviewing a CEO from a company, and he was wearing a very nice Jaeger coat, and it could unlock his Aston Martin, but it was a mechanical watch. So it was like, well, I guess it wasn't a hybrid watch because it didn't use the electronics to run the clock mechanism. It just had an accessory built into the case that you could unlock your Aston Martin, which I thought was a cute accessory. And I've actually seen since then on Chrono 24 the occasional Aston Martin watch pop up, and I'm thinking to myself, that's got to be a tough sell unless you've gotten Aston Martin and you lost the watch, because if you buy that watch, it's not going to unlock your car. Or maybe you can get it reprogrammed or something, the chirp. But then again, the cost to re-chip it. But then again, the cost of the watch, you could afford to have it re-chipped. What a conundrum. So I was looking at the website recently, and matter of fact, let's go back over there. Uh, hopefully, I won't I have to look at actually some of these elements of the screen that get covered with new lighting into the mix, as it were. Well, I have to move it off of there because I need to see these menus up here. So let's see. My channel community. I got some really good traction on some of the latest photographs I shot. People really liked that Mito that I was just showing, and I also got some decent traction from the picture I had shown of me, set up for the show, and the various pieces that I have encountered lately. But one of the nice things about um, the whole looking at other people's watches thing is it gives you an opportunity to start a conversation as well, right? You see someone wearing a nice piece. Here, I'll put this back up so we got a better light angle. You see someone with a nice piece, and it gives you an opportunity to start a conversation with that person, because if you walk up to someone and say, "Hey, nice watch," they're not going to say, "What are you talking about? This is I shouldn't have touched the screen at all." Oh, well. Like I said, if you walk up to someone and say, "Geez, that's a nice watch," they're not going to say, "What are you talking about? This is an ugly watch. I woke up this morning and I hated putting it on." They're going to be pleased, of course. They're going to be pleased as punch if you notice their watch, especially if you know something about it. Like, you said, like in my case, I saw somebody on the train. Um, okay, I'm not going to touch that anymore. I saw somebody on the train today on the way back from the trade show, and he was wearing a Marie Lacroix chrono, and I said, "Hey, nice piece." He goes, "Oh yeah, really?" I said, "Yeah, Marie Lacroix." And he goes, "Yeah, it's a Marie Lacroix." And we had a little chat on the train. uh, the his watch broke the ice, and so, you know traveling with watches isn't just you traveling with watches, other people are traveling too. And a watch is a nice way to bridge the gap between two people from different places traveling alone in a strange city. Hey, pal. Good afternoon. Queef connoisseur, I need your recommendation. I have an 1861 Speedmaster, an Apollo 8 Speedmaster, and two Dan Henrys, a 1968 and a 1972. What do you think my next watch should be? What do I think of the X33? Well, the X33 is a nice piece, but it's a quartz piece. Not that that's a negative thing, but those other Speedmasters are mechanicals. So if you're looking for a Speedmaster for Speedmaster's sake, then totally the X33 is one you should get because it's one that astronauts still actively use in outer space today. One of the things about it is it has multiple mission timing. You can run, I think, up to four stopwatches on it. But yeah, I mean, 9 times out of 10, they're not using them for stopwatch purposes. They're using them for purposes of mission timing, because how much time you're in space is different for how much time you're in the ship and how much time you're on station and all. And so having the multiple timing functions in the X33 are very useful to astronauts because they can then use it for their job. It's not just for emergencies. They use it on a regular basis, you know. Um, Trying to think. So as far as the instead of the X33, how about the Speedmaster Rattrapant, the double chronograph Speedmaster? It's got a case size of about the X33. It's got that blocky look, that really ultra metal look, and it's a Speedmaster. It's got carbon fiber face, and it is a double chronograph. So you really get something for it. It can time two separate events, and or one event with multiple time chops, as it were. So I would say if you really are hot for Speedmasters and you're thinking of the X33, I would consider the X33, but I would also consider the Speedmaster double chronograph because that's a piece that would give you a similar look without and still be a completely mechanical piece. Let's see. Wonder Tan guy, I wouldn't be confident in a watch roll for travels. A watch roll? Well, actually, a watch roll is better than what I have. In fact, I was debating going to a roll. The biggest problem with a watch roll is they're bulky. I mean, they hold the watch nice and round. You don't have to worry about bending your straps too much or folding your leather, or you know what I mean. Because on this, if the watch doesn't fold flat, it doesn't fit in this case. That's another reason I have single cases. Is that sometimes I'll use a single case and take a multiple case because the one of the watches I wanted to take, I can't fold flat. Pardon me, to fit in the case. Whereas a watch roll, well, okay, now that I'm thinking, are you talking about like a flat piece of leather that you can stick watches in the pockets and it rolls up? Or are you talking about a roll-shaped case that you open up and then the watches are on little rolls inside of pockets in the case? Because if you're talking about the kind where it rolls flat and you stick the watches into pockets, I wouldn't trust it that much either. Well, if they gave you spacers to put between, the watch strap and the back of the watch, like on like a service case from a company. They'll give you a watch service case, like a Rolex service case. It's a soft case, but there's a spacer that's in the watch, in between the watch and the back of the strap, that you wrap the watch around before you put it in the case. So if it's one of those kind of roll cases where you can keep the strap and the watch from rubbing against each other, as long as the watch folds flat, you should be all right. the only issue I have there is watches are lumpy things, and you don't know where the various lumps on the various watches will line up. So I would say a watch roll could wind up being bulky in ways you didn't plan on them being, and from frankly for me, that's a little too little padding around a watch for me. Frankly, this case is about the minimum I would go with, but at least it's got hard edges, and if I drop this on the ground, it would protect the watches to a degree. A soft watch roll, there are hard watch rolls, but a soft watch roll, I would not, um, I wouldn't trust as much. I mean, if it was only let's say a watch roll for a couple of watches, two, three watches, four at the most, and I'm putting it into personal baggage that I know I'm going to be carrying close to me, then I wouldn't be that worried about it. But like if I was traveling with watches, and I mean, you wouldn't want to put them in any bags that wouldn't leave your sight, but there are bags you carry close to you, and there are bags that you take with you on the airplane that you keep an eye on all the time. But it might be a pull bag or something along those lines. And if you bang into something with that pull bag, will the watch bag or the pull bag itself, will the luggage protect your watches? Because if the luggage didn't protect your watch, that roll better. Because that is an issue traveling is bags get dropped, bags get kicked, bags that you are carrying and are looking at get dropped and kicked. So you have to make sure that the case that you put your watches in can suffer a little bit of indignity, as it were. At least that's what I would strongly recommend. Winter tan guy, I use solid round rolls without caring. Right, exactly. The flat rolls, I agree with you. The flat rolls are not that safe. Whereas the solid rolls, any of the solid cases, or any solid case is going to give your watch a layer of protection. And a padded solid case, I mean, there's lined, it could be lined with a little bit of felt, or it could be lined with some heavy duty padding. So hard case is best in my opinion. Padded hard case is best. Padded soft case is second. Soft case is better than nothing. And if you can't do any of that, take a watch don't have to take off and just wear one watch for your entire trip. But how you travel with your watches, I mean, well, like I said, it is important because in my case, like I said, I like to keep an eye on my pieces, and two, I like to be able to choose what I'm wearing, and then and three, like I said, if I am in a situation with a colleague or someone who's genuinely interested, I'll whip out the watch case and we can talk about watches at length. But that's one of the nice things about watches. There's no politics, there's no religion, there's no weird social vibes beyond. I would say maybe some people don't like time because it reminds them of work, but I mean everybody can appreciate time, and even people who aren't into watches can appreciate a well-made piece of jeweled, engraved, balanced metal that is a watch movement. you know I've known a lot of people who were, I don't like watches, and then when they flip over a display back on a nice piece, they all always say, "Oh, how nice." Even I've yet to see someone who doesn't who says they don't like watches. I've yet to see someone who says they don't like watches who actually turns their nose up at a nice piece in their hands. So there's that, at least. There it's And as I said, it's a good way to break the ice. You see a nice piece on someone else's wrist, then it gives you an opportunity to strike up a conversation with them, because they're going to enjoy the attention to their good taste. No one ever Like no one ever hates being told their child is beautiful. Everyone likes to think that the choices they make are good choices. And since watches are very personal, if the person is wearing something and you compliment them on it, then it'll just make them happy. It'll give them a opportunity to talk about their piece. Maybe you could find out it's been inherited from their father or grandfather, or watches. The thing about watches is that they can have incredible stories behind them. And one way to find out is to ask someone. you know um let's see, going back to uh I get hit and miss comments on my watch smashing videos. I just got a recent comment. Is my Omega durable enough that I can smash it? I mean, they're obviously making fun of my smashing video. In this case, it was specifically the bad fake AP video, but it could have been any of those fake smashing videos. But yeah, if they didn't want to get smashed, they shouldn't have made a fake watch. One of the comments I got from John Gamboa, he said he's stalking the Mito, but he thinks it's too big. He's heard it's too big. And I point out that, well, it depends on your wrist size. I have an 18.5 centimeter wrist, and I really do like the way this watch looks on my wrist. And Robert says, yeah, the Mito's a nice piece. Um, I got a comment on my video on the Speedmaster versus the IWC Pilot. And I'm glad I got some nice feedback because, when you think about it, those are very similar pieces, and yet they're very different pieces. And he points out, Stuart says, I have a Speedy and tried on the 41 Chrono today. I really wanted to like the IWC as it looks beautiful. But once on the wrist, it wasn't doing it for me. Well, the one thing about the IWC compared to the Speedmaster is for uh, chrono. The Speedmaster is a big chrono, 42 millimeters. It's not a thick chrono. It doesn't, since it's not an automatic, there's no rotor in there. It's a relatively slim movement. It's a relatively slim, even when you talk about the Hesselite bubble crystal, it's not really a bubble, but the rounded Hesselite crystal, it's a relatively slim profile on the wrist. It's a big watch, but it doesn't stick out of the wrist very much. Whereas the IWC is a big blocky watch, and some people like that. It does have a powerful wrist presence in that. You see an IWC Flieger across the room, it's either that or an homage, because they really do have they have big bold cases, striking angles, very high visibility pieces, really well loomed, nice sword hands on most of the pieces. But yeah, they can be imposing on the wrist for some people. And in my case, I sold it because I realized I don't have a big enough collection to have two black faced Flieger chronos in it. In fact, I'm debating selling the double chronograph because I mean I have two Speedmasters. I used to have three. I had the Speed Sonic, but like I said, I don't have the kind of collection to make it specialized in Speedmasters. So I'm probably going to sell the double chronograph. Hey, if you decide to change, to get an additional piece and not get the X33, let me know. I'll sell you my double chronograph. Let's see. Any other comments? Nothing new from the audience. Let's go back over to the channel comments. Um, Someone made a comment about my Accutron. The Bulova Accutron is the first real space watch, and they make a logical argument. They say very interesting. First timepiece in space is probably a better description, and I agree. But it is the exact same timepiece that went on the wrist as well. So um, we could, it wasn't worn by a person on the Vanguard. That's true. But the Accutron was in space as a watch in its fielded form, as it were, the same version that the consumer bought. It was the exact same movement that was in the Vanguard and in the SR-71 and all of those other uh, NASA flights. In fact, if you look at photographs, you'll see they had just like a little holder to stick the little watch movement into it because it was a small movement already, so they didn't have to worry about changing it, and it was all low mass parts, so they didn't have to worry about changing it for mil spec, which is why the CIA went with it for the A-17 pilots, which is where the Accutron astronaut came from. But the Accutron, any Accutron has got comic history. I mean, really, really, so much history. It's such an example of horology, technology, and history in one piece. You know, and let's see. I talk about the Tag Heuer Carrera GT, and someone said my laugh is annoying. Okay, that's taste. No one cares about the size of my wrist. Well, if it's about the size and placement of the watch, and I didn't explain how to set the GMT part. I do believe I did say that it's not a flying hour chronograph GMT. I might have to check that, but if it's not a flying hour hand GMT, then it's pretty much sets like a regular watch. You pull it out to the first notch, and the GMT hand rotates around, and you pull it to the second, and the watch sets. But I think they were looking for a little bit more constructive advice on that piece. But then, speaking of that, I saw a review of the new Longines GMT, and they didn't even mention if it was a real, a flying hour hand GMT or not. I had to look at this second review before I came across that. So, I mean, I'll take the hit if I actually didn't describe the GMT properly, but I do believe in that video I did say that it was a not a true GMT in that you had to set the hour hand is not a flying hour hand, but I don't believe I did show how to set it. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll make a short on how to set it, and then that way I'll at least satisfy that person's complaint as far as the GMT setting. As far as my laugh being annoying, I can't do a lot about that, unfortunately. So let's see. The first watch in space was a pull yacht. Well, actually, as I was saying, actually, it was a Sturmansky, I believe, Gagarin's Sturmansky, his class uh, watch that he got when he graduated flight school. But the Bulova Accutron actually went up in outer space in 1957 as the timing device on the Vanguard satellite. So it beat Gagarin into space, and then depending on your definitions of space, the A-17 pilots and a bunch of other uh, pilots as well flew the Accutron to the edge of space or slightly beyond the edge of space. But as far as like the timepiece itself, the Accutron was in space before any other watch was. And the thing about the watch that Gagarin wore into space, it wasn't chosen or anything. It didn't go through any tests to get there. It just happened to be on his wrist, like the Pogue, the Seiko Pogue, um, Colonel Major Pogue. Uh, he chose it on his own wherewithal. He didn't have. He liked it, but then again, circumstance is also history. But yeah, in the case of the Accutron, uh, it was used in spacecraft and other aerospace vehicles prior to 1961. Milad Sky, hi. What's my take on Orient, the Komatsu Mako series, also Tissot PRX? I mentioned the Tissot PRX earlier. I think that it's a fantastic buy. I own one myself. I mean, I may move it on after a while to make room in the collection. It may not become part of the permanent collection, but I actually have my eyes on the PRX Chrono, which should be coming out in June or July for the permanent collection because I really do like that, and I believe it's based on the Value 7753. So it's a good, robust automatic movement in there. But the Tissot PRX is a totally worthwhile watch to buy in quartz as well. I mean, you don't have to be a mechanical lover to like the PRX. And the PRX also comes in different sizes. I've seen it in I think it was a 38 or a 36, but they do make a smaller version of the PRX, and it comes in a bunch of different colors now, including green that they don't charge you twice as much for. Well, Rolex doesn't charge twice as much for the Hulk, although they do charge a premium for color for some weird reason. But Tissot does not. Tissot charges a premium for the two tone, but that's real because it's real gold in it. But yeah, the PRX is a fantastic piece. And the Kamasu Mako series in Orient, um, I don't know about the series, but I've seen a couple of Mako pieces, and they're really nice watches. I mean, for the money, you can't. Orient is very difficult to beat for the money. They punch way above their weight. They really do. I would say they give Seiko a run for their money for everything from the Presage on down, because well, Orient doesn't have a reputation for not lining up indices. Orient is the go-to for people who when if you ask someone who collects watches, and you say, hey, what's an inexpensive watch to buy, they'll say, hey, buy yourself an Orient, buy yourself, depending on the model, usually it's an Orient. They might say Vostok, or they might say Citizen, but they'll usually say Orient because Orient makes some nice mechanicals at very reasonable price points. They don't say get a Seiko 5, although a Seiko 5 is a great watch for someone getting into watch collecting. Um, Orient seems to get more attention from serious collectors than Seiko for for whatever reason. It is interesting, but you don't hear watch collectors praise Seiko as much as you hear watch collectors praise Orient at the lower end. I mean, everybody loves Grand Seiko. I think Grand Seiko is dinged by its perfection, as it were. Everything on it is so immaculate. It, I think they need to think more about it expressing a little bit more of its own character. They have a lot of character in their faces, but the things they talk about in their cases are very subtle to the average looker. And yeah, whereas Orient uses color. Orient has interesting dials. Orient has interesting cases, of complicated functionalities. Uh, yeah, Orient makes some really good pieces and are totally worth investing in. And matter of fact, if you say for example, an Orient Mako and a Tissot PRX. That's a great two-watch collection. You got your sports dress and you got your sports casual, and they cross over in the middle. Then that would be a good two-watch collection for a person with a parsimonious budget. Any comments? Taylor Jennings. Hi, Taylor. Any comments on the new Tudor Black Bay Pro? I've seen it. I think it's a nice piece. I think again, it's Rolex saying you can't have Rolex anymore. Here's Tudor, and we're saying okay because it is a good watch. It's not like they're shoving garbage in our faces and saying that it's caviar. The Tudors are good watches. I have a video I made almost a year ago now, or about a year ago, I guess, on how the new Tudor is the old Rolex. Rolex has given us Tudor as the old Rolex. You want an inexpensive, high quality sports watch? Here's Tudor. You want a high quality sports watch? We want to be the new Audemars Piguet. So you want a Rolex, you're going to have to pay for it. And I just bought one myself. I bought a used one from a friend, and I did some horse trading with my Explorer 2, but I did buy one. Um, and they're good watches. And the Black Bay Pro is a really good piece, and I like the way it looks. I mean, it's essentially an Explorer 2. the old Explorer 2. That's what the Black Bay Pro is, and, more power to it. It's a niche that is good to be filled because it is a good, inexpensive inexpensive GMT, that is high function and very clean in presentation. Some people don't like the two-tone look of a GMT Master or a Tudor GMT, a Black Bay GMT. The Black Bay Pro gives us the old, plain steel bezel, Explorer 2 look back at the old Explorer 2 price. Although frankly, I think it's worth closer to 35 than 55, but that's what's out there. I think the new Longines GMT is something that it's chronometer certified. I'm actually thinking of getting the new Longines GMT. I may not, but I probably will. Not right away though. But the Black Bay Pro is a nice piece and definitely one to check out. And I wouldn't mind having one myself, although it's a little on the small side for me. And I just got rid of my Explorer 2, so I probably wouldn't get it. But there's nothing wrong with it, and I wouldn't have any problem owning one myself. Let's see. Hi, Millet Sky. Amazing listening to my endless knowledge of watches. Well, it came up before. It's not that it's endless. It's I only talk about the watches I know about. If someone had brought up a watch I didn't know, well, like for example, someone brought up a Spanish company last week that I did some research on, and they actually make some really nice pieces. Or Wen Italia Wen watches. He's doing a lot of guilloche work and other interesting things on Chinese watches at lower price points. But when I was asked about those companies, I knew nothing about them, so I had to say I'll look them up, and the next time we talk, if you ask me, I'll have an answer. So, I guess I sound knowledgeable because I only talk about what I know, which sadly in this world doesn't happen a lot. There are a lot of people who don't know a lot about what they're talking about. Well, we'll talk about it at length. Um, but as I mentioned before, I'm a real journalist in my day job. I'm here in Hanover at the for the fair, the industrial fair. Um, and to me, as long as you research, you can talk about what you're researching. But if you didn't take the time to, or actually maybe you just didn't encounter it, like in the case of that Chinese company, I had heard about them, and read something about them, but it had escaped my mind at the moment, the name. And since I didn't know if I didn't have anything intelligent to say, I didn't say anything. And I guess that's well, obviously it's a good thing, but I don't claim to have any encyclopedic knowledge of watches. I'm just a person who really loves watches, and I'm a thorough enough person to take the time to investigate the pieces that I talk about. And also, I've been a watch fanatic since childhood. I did it. My seventh grade science fair project was on horology and timekeeping, so part of it is just experience. Um, but yeah, I do believe if you're going to take the time to sit here and talk to people about a topic like watches, you should take the time to respect your audience and make sure that you're giving them information that's useful, that they can use, that is true and informative. So thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it. Namaste. Queef connoisseur Rolex, Alex, ha ha ha, it was made for you. Well, it is a beautiful piece. And in one sense, they always say aspirational. And I've lived long enough. I hit 60 just last year. So I'll call it aspirational. I haven't keeled over yet. And I'm still managing to make ends meet in this chaotic world. So, yeah, I can see why people look at it as aspirational. It's a good way to say, hey, I'm still standing. Pal, just sold my Black Bay 58 and bought a Etta Panerai. Well, the Panerais are nice pieces. The biggest problem with Panerais is there are a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but there is at the in the gray market, there's some suspicious pieces. So as long as you buy from a dealer that and have a chain of ownership, you're okay. But Panerais are beautiful pieces. They look awesome. They really do. And I had a Unitas. I guess that might be what you meant by the Etta Panerai, but I had the one with the display back. I sold it, and I don't really miss it, but it is a nice piece. It's a really Panorais are beautiful. They really are. But then Italian, they know how to design things, and they know how to they do have beautiful designs. And there are other beautiful watches, but Panerai is a beautiful watch. And even people who don't like watches, I've seen them see Panerais and go, "Oh, yeah, that one I like." Milad Sky, do you think Longines watches will rise in the marketplace? Not necessarily market value. It seems the brand is getting more attention lately. Well, they're making good watches. I think the biggest fallout we're seeing from the watch market getting healthier in a way. I mean, it's still challenged in a way because smartwatches are also challenging. We're past the quartz crisis now. Um, but watches have become recognized again as jewelry, as style statements, as aspirational purchases. And Longines is making some nice pieces. Well, just like look at Tissot. Tissot was one of those companies like Longines where people said nice mainstream Swiss luxury watches, good value, couple of nice pieces, but for the most part, okay. And then they started coming out with some really sharp pieces. Like the Longines, this whole new series, I think, is really sharp. They have a three-hander, they've got this GMT now, and they've got a chrono. I think they're going gangbusters. I have a Longines. I don't have it with me in the case. I had it at the last show, so I didn't bring it to this show. I have a Longines triple date moon phase that I really like of their master collection series. I think it's a fantastic piece, column wheel chronograph. But yeah, the new Longines, the new Tissot's. Uh, this is a relatively new Mito. Mito, I think this is a fantastic piece. I think the mainstream Swiss watch companies are starting to flex their muscles and come out with some pieces that are really impressing people, making people want to own them, wear them on their wrists, like that Longines GMT that I'm thinking of getting. I see we're past the hour. So yeah, the PAL. That's a good piece. The Unitas Panerai. So I see we're at the top of the hour, or slightly past, and I always like to end the show on a conversational note. We always have something to talk about, and frankly, I'm in the hotel room and I have nothing to drink, and my throat's getting dry. But everybody, take care. Have a great week. Love you. Don't even know where to reach. Okay.